So my closer friends will know this about me, but for you YouTube watchers and those who've never really met me, I'm going to preface this video by saying this. I am a large lady, and as I said in my first video, I only draw myself this way.
Yeah, she's actually pretty fat in real life, like Mrs. Claus, or Shrek, or Baymax, or...
Fat, yes, I am fat. And because of my size, I decided a long time ago that I would go for bariatric surgery if by a certain age I couldn't get it down on my own.
Big, scary knife.
Well, I'm past that age now, and my weight has become a serious issue. After taking on the job at AMC, land of the fried food and buttered popcorn.
And expansive soda collection.
Exactly. It's become a problem trying to lose the weight while surviving on what we have around us to eat. I mean, even the restaurants that I can afford to eat in around my theater are all fast foods like Burger King and Popeyes.
It doesn't really help that our breaks are only a half an hour long, and it takes 20 minutes just to get food.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to eat healthy when you're working in this kind of place. I mean, it's a movie theater behind a strip mall surrounded by junk food. It's spaced out enough to be conveniently close, but far enough to be time-consuming to get to.
Of course, working there isn't the only problem, is it? Miss, is that a new ice cream flavor?
I am a connoisseur of desserts.
You're a consumer of Haagen-Dazs and Entenmann's.
I see no difference. Anyway, the reason I'm prefacing with this is because of the fact that I am now at the point where my doctors have given me a list of things, about 8 items in total, that I have to do before meeting my surgeon for the second time to set a date. If you guys want me to talk about the list and stuff, let me know. I'd love to go over it with you. This week, my goal was to get a clearance letter from a psychiatrist, and let me tell you, this is probably the hardest thing I've had to do on this whole list. Not only is it hard to find one that takes my health insurance and won't ask me to pay out of pocket, it's also hard to find one close to home. I had to forsake one for the other and picked a guy whose office was a 2-hour commute away from my apartment.
2 whole hours on a bus.
When I chose this guy, it was mainly because he had the earliest availability, but I really should have Googled him or something before I went out, just to see what his other patients thought. If I had, I probably wouldn't be going through everything I'm going through now just to get this done. Unfortunately for me, I can't just get a fresh referral very easily to go to someone close by, so I'm kind of stuck.
When we'd gone back after the initial appointment and Googled him, what we found was ridiculous. Never make that mistake, kids. Google everything.
He didn't have many happy clients writing things about him in any of his reviews. A lot of people called him cold, which I suppose if you read beforehand would seem expected. He is a doctor, but cold doesn't really describe how he comes off.
I.e., he's an asshole.
He's a little harsh.
He made us believe that we had a disorder that we don't have.
I don't know, we are the same person and we talk to each other. That is kind of crazy.
Don't you go getting all judgy and self-deprecating.
So first off, when I made the appointment and went to the office listed, I found that it was the wrong place. The right place was actually yet another 20 to 25 minutes away on foot on a different avenue about a half a mile down.
Inaccurate paperwork.
When I got there, I was a few minutes late because of it, so having to wait is expected, but I wasn't the only one who had the wrong address. There were a few of us there, along with a plethora of other patients. This made our wait way longer than I thought it would be.
4 hours. We waited 4 hours. The sun had gone down by the time we finally walked out of that windowless place.
There were windows.
They were covered with thick shades if they weren't boarded up. It was like the sleep clinic all over again.
Yeah, doctors' offices aren't known for their luxurious floor-to-ceiling windows, you know.
Maybe that's why people hate going to them.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're sick. Anyway, when I was finally called in, I walked into his office and he was seated behind his large wooden desk typing away on his iMac. He didn't say anything at first, so I figured he was busy with whatever he'd been doing. I looked around at all of the degrees covering his walls and very old anatomy charts, and a curious little painting of a quote that said, "Today is to be lived," which really bothered me.
There has to be a better way to say that.
When he finally looked up, he introduced himself, holding his hand out, and asked me the basic questions any doctor would ask a new patient. Am I in pain? Why am I here? How long have I been overweight? How long have I been trying to lose it? But then it started to get a little weird. His questions suddenly got really intense when he jumped into the evaluation without any warning, and they would ping-pong back and forth between hard-hitting, deep emotional questions and the lighter, easier ones. Like, he'd asked if I'd ever been molested and followed it with, "Who do you live with?" He asked me what I believed in religiously, if anything, and then asked if I smoked or drank alcohol.
Let's not forget how judgy he got when you said socially for both. Like one sip of wine or one little pull is a crime against humanity.
Yeah, it was weirder still at the end because he took all of my answers and made them into this really broad analyzation of my life, using sentences like, "Did you feel that because this person did this to you, you grew up feeling this?" Or, "Do you notice the pattern here? Because this person did this, you now do this without realizing." It was like he was leading me somewhere. It was also odd, for lack of a better word.
How about abrasive, rude, pushy, analytical, cut and dry, unfeeling?
Got it, you really didn't like him.
Did you? He was in between his cell phone and his computer the entire time. He didn't look at you once, texting whomever and taking notes whenever he felt like it.
Yeah, that was new. And then, of course, there was the moment he'd asked if I had OCD, and when I said no, he started to subtly move things around to try to trigger me.
Because evidently he thought we were lying.
And then there was the bit at the very end which threw me for a loop.
Now, I want to preface this by saying that our life hasn't exactly been an easy one. We've gone through a lot of stuff, as most have, but it's been hard.
He asked me what the saddest moment of my life was. And, well, I couldn't choose. I sat there for what felt like a whole 2 or 3 minutes just throwing darts at this huge corkboard in my mind. There were so many to choose from. I decided to go with a doubleheader. I told him the day my dog Sophie died and the day I had to break things off with my then fiance tied for the worst days of my life.
And instead of responding to that, he asked why you were smiling. He asked why a person who needs a coping mechanism to function without cracking was using said coping mechanism to not crack. Ugh!
I didn't actually smile. It was more of a sad smirk. I felt myself getting emotional and didn't want to cry in front of him, but apparently every answer I'd given him, though honest, had painted this picture of a messed up person who needed loads of help. He said I had something.
He said we have DID. Do you know what that is? Dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality disorder, the nerve.
Now I know what you might be thinking.
Moogie, you have two different characters who represent you on screen at the same time and they talk to each other.
That's for the vlog, I promise. But it did make me question myself. It made me contemplate everything. It made me go numb, actually. Walking out of that office, and for hours afterwards, I felt broken. I didn't know what to do with myself and this new information. He sent me to psychotherapy, and plot twist.
It was all bullshit.
Yep. This therapist told me that the higher ups, the ones who do the evaluations, pad them with extra detail and use language that leads you to believe you're worse off than you are, so that they can send you to therapy so that they can charge your insurance company. This therapist didn't even bother really going through the motions with me at all. What they did was ask the basics and type whatever they had to into the computer to convince him that I was better or fine so that I could get cleared. They were very sweet and super kind. They coached me and said, if you cry, you won't get cleared. Just put on a strong face. You'll be fine. There's nothing really wrong with you. Everyone goes through hardships. I appreciated their honesty and will probably value it for years to come considering what that news did to me.
Not to mention the pills he put us on.
Yeah, he did put me on some antidepressants that doubled as a smoking cessation medication. And for the time that I've been on it so far, I feel terrible. Like perpetually sad, or numb, or angry. I haven't had a happy bone in my body since I've started them. I'm not gonna lie, of all the things I've had to do for this surgery, the psychiatric clearance is probably the biggest hurdle I've had to jump through. I'm hoping that at the end of this 3-week period on these pills, I can just get cleared and move on with it. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll keep you guys updated. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't hesitate to share what you find entertaining, deep, thrilling, or just share-worthy. Until the next video. See you then!